Hey guys, Roman Trusted here with Mission Forge. And today guys, I'm back to work on my type of kitchen knife here. It's not quite going to be a chef knife like I was hoping, more of a slicer thing. But while I got a little bit of time left here, I figured I'll go ahead and get started on this. I'm going to go ahead and just at least try to clean up, get a lot of the scale and stuff off here. Get a little bit closer to being 100% as flat as possible. And if the microphone acts out because of the wind or something like that, I apologize. But let's go ahead. I'm going to get to work. I'm going to start cleaning up my knife here on this bad boy here using a 120 grit belt here. It's specifically designed for metal, so hopefully this will work faster. Okay, so put a jacket on because the mosquitoes are horrendous. I got this fairly cleaned up. All right, yeah, you can still see some of the scale here, and same thing on the other side here, right? You know, down here. The handle, I'm not too worried about because it's been covered by scales, but I did try as much as I can. Cleaned off the spine, you know, the edge of the blade here, so I can mark it. This part here, I'm gonna have to hit by hand. Or I'll get my smaller grinder out and take care of that. So now the reason I'm not too concerned about, say, this or along the edge is because when I grind the bevels in, that's going to go away. And I didn't want to take too much off because this is already getting fairly thin. So with that being done, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get my other grinder out. I'm going to go ahead and try to clean this part up here. And then I'll go from there. I don't know if I want to try to do this by hand or if I want to go ahead and make a jig. So that way I'll have perfect bevels. Make sure you're careful when hand sanding. As you can see, I went right through my glove at the point. I'm trying to get this to focus. Oh, yes. Come on, under. You know, you might be able to kind of see I actually skinned myself. Now, I'm not bleeding or anything, but just be careful. I'm still sanding this down. Okay, so I got the blade finally pretty much to a polish I'm happy with. This is just going to be my personal blade here. I got to about 800 grit polish, and I mean, yeah, there's still some marks here and there. Luckily, I've decided that that's enough for now. This knife obviously doesn't like me, and I'm going to show you guys here in a second. But so I got the taper going on, the distill taper here going on, and the thing about a lot of kitchen knives or chef knives is well, you can kind of sort of see a small ricasso right here and another small one right there. They're not really supposed to have one. When you look at a lot of custom-made ones and stuff like that, they try to keep it. There's still going to be a small bevel in there because it's a flat grind, but I try to remove the bevel look, and then I'm going to go ahead and put an edge on there. And that should be it. Now I'm going to try something else, another scrap piece of metal before I mess up this thing, which I spent so much time and blood on, which I want to point out something to you guys now. So this knife did not like me at all. I tried making the different tip and it worked for a little bit, but I have come up to now a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different injuries. This one here, you can still see the blood kind of leaking through. So I got myself pretty good in my hand here. This one here, I just kind of almost filleted my thumb here. Deep gouge, a small skin, and this one here pierced right in the top. Even though this one hurt the most, the second injury on this one, because it's the tip of my thumb area here and a lot of nerves there, and it's really sensitive. This one hurt like a mother. I swear to God, it hit the bone. This one here was just a slice, which I'm going to have to go ahead and take care of. So be very careful when working on these knives. My knife clearly does not like me too much, even though, or it likes me a lot and just wants to show me that it's, even though it's dull, it's sharp enough on the point here to cause some injuries here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to clean off the blade here, remove any fingerprints, marks, stuff like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape it up and all that fun stuff, because the next thing I'm going to start doing is trying to polish the spines a little bit more here, around the edge here, clean up the heel, and then start fitting a handle to it and get it ready. And then like I said, I'm going to try something else with the blade. I'm going to try scrap metal, which is cut these little divots in there to help break free any of the food that might have still. I was casting some brass ingots here, right? And because I was going to use them for my knife that I was working on yesterday, and they were going to be part of the bolsters that was going to go, you know, be a bolster here, and I actually was going to try to put one on the back end here and all that other fun stuff, make it really nice. But you know, I ran into a couple problems yesterday other than stabbing myself while polishing this blade up. But one of the things is that I want to cut these little grooves in here to help release the food from the knife, and I didn't do that. I should have done it before I hand polished it. And I was like, you know what, I'm not 100% comfortable screwing up a pretty polished blade right now, putting the grooves in. I'll do that another time. I'm not afraid to do that, but this I already put a lot of time and effort. I figured I spent about 6 hours hand polishing this thing yesterday. I mean, literally, like by hand, sanding it down. And then today I cast these ingots, brass ingots here. And then I realized I ran into one little problem. The holes I drilled into the tang are too big for the brass pins I have. So these are about, I can't remember, 3/16, right? And the brass pin I have is a 1/8 pin. I can't remember what it is. Either way, these are too big for the brass pin I have. So what I was gonna do was, this was going to be put on here, and then I was gonna drill a hole through it, put a pin through it, do all that fun stuff. You know, another brass pin, a brass pin. The brass would kind of mesh well, so it would kind of hide it well. Then I would have had a zebra wood handle right here in the middle. It's gonna be nice. But because my retarded butt didn't do that, these are the wrong pins, I'm still gonna use probably the zebra wood scale for this. I'm just gonna make the whole thing out of wood with a steel pins now. And that's where much I'm going to go with, unfortunately. So this is not going to be the highest quality knife I wanted. It's still going to be a good quality knife, but it's not what I wanted. So the next chef knife I make, which may be the next knife, is going to be absolutely correct. So yeah, how disappointing. Oh well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start tracing out the handle on the scale that I'm going to use. And then I'm going to go ahead and go from there. If I actually had a chunk of steel that was as wide as this and as thick, I would go with the steel bolsters then, but I don't have it, so oh well. Alright, so let me go ahead and get to work on putting the handle on this thing. Okay, so one thing I do is it's gonna be hard to see. Let me go ahead and just this light a little bit, take the light off. You'll see where I traced it down here and stuff. I try to just reuse what's up here. Some people don't, you know, and that's fine. I do because then it's just one less spot for me to have to try to cut. So now this would be the right scale. I'll put R on there. So what I ended up having to do is I had to put a pin through to kind of help it stay in place. And that's probably what I'm going to do, put a pin in each hole to keep it in place. I didn't realize that now I'm no longer flush with the top of the piece of the wood there. So it means I'm going to have to grind some of it down. I'm going to have to retrace this, recut it, and all that stuff. But that's all right. So I'm going to cut another pin. put that pin in place there, and move the whole thing over, and we're going to do the next one. Alright, so I'm going to put another pin through there. Alright, there we go. All the pinholes have been filled. Now, time for me to go ahead and cut the scales out. I guess I don't technically need to pin this one. But I'll go ahead and cut all the scales out, and then kind of start shaping them a little bit. And by shaping, I'm talking about part that goes closest to the heel. I'm gonna have a nice little curve. You're gonna have to do that before, get all hand sanded down and like that before you permanently attach it to the knife, or you're just not really gonna have a nice snug fit. When I cut these, and I'm following the line, I'm actually cutting on just on the outside of the line, not on the inside or on the line, because I want to make sure I have enough room where, you know, if I make a mistake or I got to clean up, it's easier to remove than it is to replace or add to. So that's why I do it that way. So I just realized I made a bit of a mistake. So here's the mistake. Well, it looks like everything is fine and it lines up and everything else, right? The problem I made a mistake was when I had to do the holes for the right scale, if I can find my knife, the right side, this is left. Okay. Problem was that the right side didn't line up properly anymore, and I never retraced it. So let me show you. Good. So as you can almost see already, if you look, see how that is no longer lines up there, and this side is now too high. The wood's too high. That's where I messed up. I did not redraw this out before I went and did the started cutting it. So I went ahead and I got this so the handle fits the scales fit the tang of the handle here. Excuse me. Now I went ahead and I rounded this up because, like I was telling you guys, this part's gonna be towards the heel, you know, the blade of the knife there. And once that it's glued and everything on, you're really not going to be able to sand this too much, just because you risk, you know, scuffing up and scratching your blade. So right now I'm going to start sanding it. You know, it's already at I used a worn 120 grit belt to do this. So next it's going to be a 220 grit, and then eventually I'm just going to work my way up to about probably 500 grit on the handle completely. So this is going to be all I'm focused on, is this right here, because once I'm done with that, I'm going to reattach the scales, I'm going to put the epoxy on, and then I'm going to let it set. I don't know if I got 24-hour epoxy though, so but time to have fun and do this. It's probably better if I did this in my garage, but it's over 100 degrees in there. so now I got this to 800 grit, or down to 800 grit. What I'm gonna go ahead and do now is attach the handle, or the scales, to the handle of the knife. Hopefully I got some like slow curing epoxy, not my 5-minute epoxy. Slow curing lasts a lot longer, it's a lot stronger. 5-minute will work just fine too, but that's, hopefully I have some 24 hours.
Alright.
So normally I would do this not here, but again, it's 1,000 degrees outside. So one of the things you're gonna want to do before you start putting your handle together and stuff like that is make sure your workspace is clean. It sounds ridiculous, but you really do want to get as much dirt and stuff like that off of it, because the dust likes to get picked up and it can get blown around real easily. So you want your work area as clean as possible so that dust doesn't land on your handle scale material and on your tank. So make sure you clean that area up really well. And the next thing I'm going to do is to start cleaning off the scales and the tang of the knife. Alright, so when wiping down your handle scales and all that stuff, make sure everything's wiped down as clean as possible. We're going to use the acetone I got over there on my couch my wife is going to hate me for. To remove any oil and grease as well. Right now this is just to remove the any dust and stuff. We're also going to clean off the pins, because we want the adhesive to stick to the pins as well. Okay, so I wiped this down. Also, what you want to do too is go ahead and scuff it up slightly with some sandpaper. I just used some 500 grit, so it gives a little bit more surface area to hold on to, and it removes some of the hard edges on this. So, all right, next now I'm going to go ahead and start the process of cleaning everything with acetone, so we can remove any grease and all that other fun stuff. All right, so another thing that I'm doing, and some people might call it a little overboard, but I'm doing it just because I am wanting to make sure that this lasts as long as possible. So I'm cleaning out the holes even of the tang that I drilled, and because I want everything to fit. I already cleaned up the one side. You can see this side's a little dirty compared to this side. So well, that's kind of all right. So next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix up the epoxy on here, because time's not our friend. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna shove the epoxy in between the scales here, and then I'm gonna close and pinch them closed. And then I got my clamps over here. I'm gonna clamp them down real quick, and hopefully that will do the trick. At least that's what I usually do with a 5-minute epoxy. So you're gonna want up right now. Now what I'm going to do is going to kind of try to clean up some of the epoxy that's oozed out, especially like right here where I can get to it. You just use paper towel and some acetone, and it helps clean it up. All right, I'm going to let it set and cure now for probably about, it's 5-minute epoxy, so about 5 minutes you can take it off, but I'm going to let it cure a little longer than that. Probably about 20-30 minutes. It really lets it set. All right. I'm recording here in the wee hours of the night. Actually, it's only about 8 p.m. And I got the width for the middle part need to work on. I got done. What I'm going to start doing now is actually I need it tapered towards the heel a little more. So I'm going to do that real quick on this 1x30, and then so that way if I want to pinch the blade, it's going to be more comfortable. So I'm going to go do that real quick. Okay, so I pretty much shaped the handle here. As you can see, I got that going on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and start hand sanding it, because it's only at about 120 grit here, and I'm gonna probably do 120 grit as well, real quick, or about 150 grit or 120. We'll see. On the sides here, and I got to work on this part a little bit more by hand. Then I'll go up to 220, and then, you know, all the way up to 800 grit, and then I'm going to go ahead and then use tung oil to help seal this. I'm going to do a couple of coats of that. Well, tonight's is only going to be one coat because it takes about 24 hours for the first coat to really set in. I'm going to make sure it's nice and wet. In about 15-20 minutes, you're supposed to wipe it off, let it set overnight. Then after all that's said and done, then I'm going to go ahead and then put probably a lacquer on, like I stated earlier, because I want these pins to not rust. And the lacquer is going to help protect it from that. So I'm going to go ahead and start kind of just hand sanding it more, get some of the rough edges off, and then go from there. Okay, so hopefully the microphone will mess up, but I'm officially done with this chef knife. As you can see, it is actually fairly thin. We got a nice little distal taper on there. It's got a pretty darn good polish on there. Not the greatest. After I made a couple of mistakes, I was like, ugh. So I still did a good enough job on there. I put on initially a flat grind to get it sharp. But I also went ahead and put on a convex, because on a good chef knife, the edge wants to be, or should be rather, apple seed shaped. So what you do is you put a flat grind on, and then you finish up with a kind of like a convex grind. So, and that's kind of what I did here. Now we're gonna get ready to test to see how sharp it's gonna be, and then maybe I'll test it out on some like veggies if I got any. So. Let's see. Ooh, very sharp. This is push sharp. I'm not doing anything but using the weight. So we got very sharp. I'm not a chef, so don't be surprised that I can't skin an apple properly with the knife. But you can see, I can take the skin off. With that, guys, hopefully you found this series of videos on making this chef knife. And granted, it was supposed to be a lot more complicated, but, you know, started out as a 5160 coil spring piece. I hammered it out completely. Starting out with a test on the hammer-free anvil. If you haven't seen it, I'll make sure I put some links down in the description below. Check out the next series of the videos, whatever, this is not 2 or 3 series in it. I'll put those links in as well, where I then refine the shape a little bit more. And then you'll probably see me go ahead and do this here, which is the final product of me actually grinding it down, all that fun stuff, sanding this thing. I spent 6 hours hand sanding the blade alone, and yesterday I spent about 4 hours on the handle, up to an 800 grit handle. So anyways, with that, guys, thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, all that fun stuff, go ahead and hit that like button. If you got any comments or suggestions, like down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button or stab it. That, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.